It has been described as the biggest crisis in aviation history. With borders closed to nip the spread of COVID-19 in the bud, airlines were forced to ground their fleets, and this is costing them billions of revenue every month. According to statistics from the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, air travel in general has reduced drastically. For example, in April last year, Entebbe Airport welcomed 136,338 international passengers, while a paltry 987 were recorded in April 2020. In the same month last year, 13,102 passengers transited through Entebbe, while April 2020 recorded only 116. For the exports, 3,230 tons were registered in April 2019, as April 2020 saw only 1,893 tons. 2,291 tons were imported in April 2019, while 993 tons of imports were registered in April 2020. This lockdown also didn't spare the national carrier, Uganda Airlines. The airline, with a fleet of 4 CRJ 900 jetliners, had transported close to 80,000 passengers across East Africa between September 2019 and March 2020. The travel restrictions put in place called for shelving of many plans the new airline had in the pipeline.
Airlines are generally low-margin industries, and they rely on cash generation to stay afloat. They don't have loads of cash because the assets that they deploy are very expensive. So that's why we have seen even large airlines outside the continent start to restructure and to lay off some employees and to look at that. The important thing right now for all airlines, including Uganda Airlines, is to preserve its liquidity or cash resources.
Early this month, Uganda Airlines was at the forefront in the process of repatriating Ugandans who were stranded in the southern part of Africa. While this cannot be interpreted as a harbinger of opening the skies, it offered an insight into the new normal of air travel.
Internally, we have understood what is required in terms of protecting the public and the passengers. It is necessarily not going to be cheap in terms of the industry because several expenses have come up in the industry. So the whole travel chain will have to be reassessed from a cost point of view and a revenue point of view as well.
To ensure safety, the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority has pitched numerous pandemic mitigation safety control measures and protocols. In the new measures, all departing passengers shall go through health screening. Passengers shall possess a valid COVID-19 certificate issued within 48 hours of travel. Passengers who show signs and symptoms of communicable diseases including COVID shall not be allowed to travel and will be taken for further checks and treatment. The process shall be the same for arriving passengers who shall undergo a rapid COVID-19 test before proceeding to immigration. The airline operators shall also ensure social distancing in the course of disembarking, and this will be followed by decontamination of the aircraft.
And the pandemic, has also become endemic. I mean, it has literally, it is here to stay. We don't know when it will go. So as airports across the globe are opening for business, we have to make sure that we invest a lot into that. Travelers on the other side, they should expect that they will spend a little bit more time when they're departing or arriving, and they'll go through a number of SOPs that will be modified depending.
At Entebbe International Airport will have a lot of challenges to fulfill all this, and all this, they require funding. This is why we are continuing to call upon government to support us. This is the only main entry and exit for the country. And this is where most of the suspected people will always pass. Therefore, the control at Entebbe International Airport has to be robust.
However, in the absence of a worldwide standard, these measures are likely to vary per airline. But small potatoes traveling in the age of coronavirus will totally be different compared to your last trip. Ssenono, UBC News.